Hey YouTube, Shelko04 here. So I want to talk to you about something that I realized or discovered when we talk about getting ready for an SHTF situation, or dealing with without rule of law and all that, and we're prepping, and we got our stuff stockpiled. We look at it like from the standpoint of if something happens, we will be amped up and we will be running on adrenaline. But I realized in the last week and a half or so that there are going to be physiological problems that I'm not sure how to deal with. And I'm not sure if there is any way to deal with them. So let me explain. The land I live on is 8 acres, and it's shaped like a shoebox. Down at that end is my 5 acres, actually, and up this end is my buddy Joe's 3. We own the land sort of together. Anyway, behind me is a lot of similar size and dimension owned by a guy named Freddie. Now, Freddie let somebody move in to one of his places out of the kindness of his heart. This person needed a place to stay. So Freddie said, go on, you can stay out there. And then they let somebody else move in, and they let somebody else move in, and then they let a whole lot of people come and visit and move in. So what happened eventually was that the place next door became something of a shooting den for druggies, I guess. And I don't think I'm necessarily reading too much into it. So one day we were going to the store, because we live down there in an RV, and we were going to the store and came up the hill to go to the gate, which is right over there. And they had built a bonfire over there, and the bonfire was about the size of a U-Haul moving vehicle. And there were gusts of wind that day up to 90 miles an hour. So this thing was going to get out of hand super fast. So what happened was when we came back and saw that the fire had grown, we called the sheriff, because we're outside of the city limits. We had to call the sheriff. We couldn't call the city, so the police couldn't come. But we called the sheriff, and about 5 minutes later, the fire department showed up, and they put it out. Now, that call to the authorities to come to the property pissed somebody off. And so what happened was, that was on Monday, the 11th. The next day, I was walking up here because I walk up to the gate every day to just make sure it's locked. But the next day, I noticed that somebody had spray painted a 187 and a skull on the side of that RV. 187 is the law enforcement code for murder. And so when you Google code 187 and gang, basically the implication is that you've been marked and we are going to murder you. And when I say you, I say that's facing my property. That's 15 feet or 20 feet from the property line. Then the next thing that happened was they began to patrol the ridge of that trailer and would periodically go up there and patrol back and forth. And then third was this a vehicle over here that my buddy Joe is I guess he's parting out and in the process of slowly going to sell. But what would happen after the 11th was periodically they would shoot at this truck. They hadn't shot down in our direction in about a month, but they began to shoot more and more frequently at this truck, as I said, after that date. And so, where do we stand now? We stand where the property owner isn't on the property anymore because he's been intimidated off of the property by, see the bullet holes there in the door and the side, and then just to the left of the back window, underneath it though. That's what I'm talking about. So the property owner has been intimidated off of his property, and we're out here at night and it's pitch black, and they are in there shooting up and doing drugs and whatnot in the pitch black because the power is off in there. And then they would come and go. It just got into a bad situation. So getting back to the physiological implications of an SHTF situation, what I realized was I wasn't running on adrenaline anymore. It was fear and tension and anxiety. I mean, I had the worry that somebody was going to walk from here down to our RV down there and, put a couple of bullets through the wall. The wall's just fiberglass. I mean, you could drill a hole through it in a minute or two. So, there's nothing there that would prevent anybody from doing that. So, as I said, physiologically speaking, the tension, the anxiety, I slept like crap. My heart rate was 107 resting. I felt like I was losing days of my life worrying about this. And, I began to realize that there's nothing we have that's worth this. So I was getting to the point where, screw this, let's just leave. But in an SHTF situation, you're not necessarily going to have that. And the interesting thing is that that's just a relationship between one set of individuals and us. If you think about what's going to happen without rule of law, is that everybody's going to be doing that and looking over their shoulder and worrying about what's going to happen with the next door neighbor. Are they going to be friend or are they going to be foe? And as I told my brother earlier today, if it's you and your small family, you're not going to have 24-hour security. You just can't. You can't do that. You can't do that and survive. So I don't know if the solution is to band together or to get a lot of dogs, or the Germans use geese because they quack a lot when they are disturbed, but physiologically speaking, it could prove to be a bad deal. Now, one thing that would be of interest would be anybody who's been in country, in combat, if they want to pipe up with how they were able to eventually get to sleep. And because if it were me, if I was back in the green zone or something, I'd still be worried about something coming over the wire. And so I'm not sure I would always ever be able to get to sleep. I think I'd be sleeping with one eye open. So, anybody who's got combat experience, I'm more than interested in, do you feel like you actually had a good quality of life while in country? Anyway, if you have any questions about this, feel free to leave them in the comments. I look forward to seeing people's thoughts. All right, Shelko 04 out. Thanks, bye.